Welcome to the Quantum AI Coach podcast. I'm Gina, founder of Virtual World Coaching Academy.
Imagine staring at a dashboard. It's like 6 a.m.
Early.
Very early. And you've already done the ice bath. You've done the high-performance journaling.
Right.
You've invested, I don't know, maybe $30,000 in that elite mastermind where everyone just constantly talks about scaling to the moon.
Doing all the things.
Exactly. You are doing exactly what the billionaires, the gurus, and the visionaries tell you to do. You are executing the playbook flawlessly.
On paper, at least.
Right. On paper, it's perfect. But then there you are looking at your Stripe account, and the number is exactly the same as it was 18 months ago.
Frustrating.
It's beyond frustrating. It just refuses to budge. You hit this invisible wall, and you just bounce right back down.
And, well, the immediate assumption when you are staring at that stagnant number is that you are fundamentally broken.
Yeah, that it's your fault.
Exactly. That you aren't working hard enough or, worse, that you are somehow spiritually misaligned.
Right. And I want to talk directly to you, the listener, today. Because if that scenario made your chest tight, well, I know exactly who is tuning into this deep dive.
Yeah.
You aren't lazy. In fact, you are probably the hardest working person in your entire peer group. You are what behavioral economists and market researchers often refer to as the dormant buyer.
It's such a striking phrase, isn't it? The dormant buyer.
It really is.
It completely captures that kinetic energy that it has nowhere to go.
Exactly. It's the entrepreneur who is doing absolutely everything right. I mean, the vision boards look like a Silicon Valley mood board. The daily routines are perfectly dialed in, but the kinetic energy isn't translating into financial momentum.
And the emotional exhaustion of that is just profound.
Oh, absolutely. Trying to force this reality into existence and feeling like you're somehow failing at the universe, it's devastating. You feel like a dormant volcano of potential that just can't erupt.
But what if I told you that this absolute standstill isn't a failure of your business strategy? And it certainly isn't a failure of your work ethic. What if that stagnant bank account is actually your biology, actively and successfully, by the way, trying to save your life?
Okay, let's unpack this, because that is a massive paradigm shift.
It changes everything.
It really does. If my bank account being stuck at a frustratingly low number is a biological success, we are completely flipping the script on why high achievers get stuck.
We have to.
Today, we are bringing science and spirit to the exact same table. We are going to uncover the invisible architecture of success. We are looking for the ghost in the machine.
And to find that ghost, we have to look past the spreadsheets. We have to look past the marketing funnels.
Right, getting out of the metrics.
Exactly. We have to look at the meat and the electricity, the nervous system. Whenever we hear these spiritual concepts like manifestation or abundance thrown around today, we have to immediately ground them in neuroscience.
Because it's not just magic.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Because the inability to manifest that next level of income isn't a mindset problem. It's a profound biological adaptation.
I love this because my brain immediately goes to the macro, the visionary perspective. We talk about this idea of quantum misalignment.
Right.
It sounds very esoteric, very Dr. Joe Dispenza. People use that phrase to describe why their reality isn't matching their vision board. But I want to push on this. What does quantum misalignment actually mean in the physical body?
That's the real question.
Yeah, because if I'm just spinning my wheels, it doesn't feel very quantum. It just feels like burnout.
Well, what's fascinating here is how beautifully the quantum concepts map directly onto neurobiology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like when Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about brain coherence, he's talking about literal measurable frequencies in the brain.
Okay.
So when you are in quantum misalignment, what's actually happening biologically is a brutal tug of war between two entirely different evolutionary systems.
Walk me through that tug of war. Like, who is fighting who here?
Okay, so on one side, you have the prefrontal cortex. That's the newest part of the human brain.
The logic center.
Right. It's the visionary. It's the part of you that sets goals, that writes the business plan, that says, hey, I want to scale my agency to 7 figures.
The part that buys the mastermind.
Exactly. But on the other side, beneath that, you have the ancient, deeply embedded limbic system and the brainstem.
And what do they want?
Well, their primary job is not to make you a millionaire. Their primary job is threat detection and energy conservation. They just want to keep you alive until tomorrow.
So my conscious mind wants an empire, but my subconscious just wants to not get eaten by a bear.
Precisely. And the conscious mind has literally evolved to hide our own survival blocks from us,
Wait, hide them. Why?
to keep us functioning. So if your ancient survival systems perceive that scaling your business comes with a threat, say, the threat of being highly visible, which historically meant standing out to predators,
Right.
or the threat of leaving the familiar tribe, which meant exile and starvation, those older systems will just pull the plug on your prefrontal cortex.
Wow.
They will completely shut down your conscious efforts, and they do it completely invisibly.
Invisibly. That's the most maddening part, isn't it?
It is.
Because the emotional toll of this invisible shutdown is exactly what creates the dormant buyer exhaustion. You think, oh, my Facebook ad copy is terrible, or my sales funnel is leaky.
So you try to fix the marketing.
Right. You try to fix the marketing, but you are actually fighting your own evolution. I look at it like this. It's like trying to scale your business with unexamined biological money blocks is like trying to run the absolute latest state-of-the-art millionaire software on an old, terrified operating system.
That is the perfect way to visualize it.
You've got this beautiful new app you want to run, your $1 million launch strategy, but the hardware is a dusty, terrified machine from 1995 that literally panics and overheats whenever it has to process a new line of code.
It's going to crash.
The hardware will inevitably crash. It has to.
And if we connect this terrified operating system to the bigger picture, we have to ask the critical question. Why does the hardware crash? Like, what is the actual mechanism?
Let's get into it.
To understand this, we have to look at the work of Dr. Stephen Porges and Polyvagal Theory.
I am so glad we are going here. I've heard polyvagal theory mentioned in trauma therapy circles, but how does this apply to a business owner trying to double their revenue? What does the vagus nerve have to do with my Stripe dashboard?
Literally everything.
Really?
Yes, because polyvagal theory explains how our autonomic nervous system subconsciously assesses risk and safety in our environment. Dr. Porges coined a term for this, which is neuroception.
Neuroception. Okay, I need to explain it. I'm 5 on this. How does neuroception actually work? How does my nervous system scan for things?
So think of neuroception as a highly advanced radar system running in the background of your body, 247, completely bypassing your conscious thought.
Okay, so I'm not aware of it at all?
Not at all. Your senses, your sight, sound, visceral sensations in your gut, they are constantly feeding data directly to your amygdala, which is the brain's alarm system, before the information ever reaches your prefrontal cortex.
Right.
It is constantly asking one binary question. Am I safe? Or am I in danger?
And it does this before I even have a conscious thought about what's happening.
Exactly. Now, here is the critical neurological equation that governs entrepreneurship. To the primitive brain, familiar equals safe, and unknown equals danger.
Wait.
It is a rigid mathematical formula.
But wait, what if the familiar is miserable? What if the familiar means I'm constantly overdrawn at the bank, I'm stressed out of my mind, and I hate my business model? How can the brain categorize that as safe?
Because to the nervous system, comfort and safety are two entirely different things.
Oh, that's wild.
The primitive brain doesn't care if you are happy. It only cares that you are alive.
Huh.
If you were struggling to pay rent yesterday and you survived the night, the brain categorizes struggling to pay rent as a known survivable quantity. It is safe.
That is so deeply frustrating.
It is. And conversely, the unknown is categorized as danger. Even if the unknown is a massive influx of cash, or a viral video that brings in 10,000 new leads, or a wildly successful product launch.
Because it's new.
Exactly. It is uncharted territory. And in uncharted territory, the nervous system assumes there are predators hiding in the tall grass.
So when I launch a new offer and it actually starts doing really well, and suddenly I'm getting all this attention, DMs from strangers, money hitting the account, my brain doesn't see a victory. It sees a massive life-threatening vulnerability.
Exactly. The amygdala sounds a silent siren. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. The friction of the unknown spikes your stress hormones.
Wow.
And if we look at this through the lens of Dr. Andrew Huberman's work on dopamine, if you don't have dopamine attached to the pursuit of that unknown, the adrenaline just feels like sheer panic.
Right, because there's no reward chemical.
Exactly. This triggers what we can call a safety reset.
A safety reset. I want to drill into this because I think this is where 90% of business owners misdiagnose their problems.
Oh, absolutely.
We almost never recognize a safety reset for what it is. We label it as a business failure. We think, oh, I just lost my motivation this week, or man, the algorithm is really punishing me lately.
Blaming the external.
Right. Or we say, I had a string of terrible luck, my laptop crashed, and I got a cold, so I missed the launch deadline.
But those aren't random coincidences or character flaws. This is your biology actively choosing sovereignty and safety over scale.
Unbelievable.
Your biology pulls the emergency brake on your business growth because it calculates that if you keep going into the unknown, you are going to die.
Which sounds so dramatic.
It does. Obviously, you aren't going to die from making more money, but the primitive brain doesn't know the difference between a sudden spike in online visibility and standing up in the middle of a savanna surrounded by lions.
It just feels exposed.
Exactly. It just knows. We are exposed. We must hide.
I love that visual. But I really struggle with the logic here. Why does the nervous system choose safety over $1 million? I mean, consciously, $1 million represents the ultimate safety, right? You can buy a fortress of a house, afford the absolute best private health care, secure your family's future for generations. So why is the biological bodyguard so fiercely opposed to the very thing that provides actual 3D world security?
Okay, think of it like a deep-sea diver coming up to the surface. Up at the surface is the boat, the oxygen, the safety. That's the $1 million.
Okay, I'm tracking.
But if the diver comes up too fast, the sudden change in pressure causes the bends. It's lethal. Your nervous system views sudden wealth and visibility the exact same way. It's not that the circus is dangerous. It's that the transition is a shock to the system.
Ah, the transition itself is the threat.
Yes. $1 million comes with a massive spotlight. It comes with complex expectations, wealth management, tax liabilities, potential loss, and standing out dramatically from your peer group.
And historically, evolutionarily, standing out from the tribe meant you were the easiest target for a predator, or you risked exile.
Exactly. If you acquire wealth faster than your nervous system can acclimate to the pressure of that visibility, your biology gets the bends. It forces you back down into the depths where the pressure is familiar.
That completely shifts the blame off of our work ethic. To really anchor this in the real world, I want to look at a fascinating case study.
Let's do it.
Let's run this through Lisa Bloom's storytelling that sells framework because it perfectly maps out this exact biological tension. Let's call this case study the 2,000-pound ceiling.
This is one of the most revealing examples of neuroception in action.
So, establishing the context, the story of who? We have a woman who is described as brilliant. She is deeply intuitive. She actually understands quantum physics, brain coherence, and manifestation better than almost anyone in her field.
She knows the theory.
Completely. She is doing all the right things. But she is completely, maddeningly stuck. Every single year, no matter what new marketing strategy she deploys, no matter if she pivots to a high-ticket offer or a low-ticket membership, her income levels out at exactly 2,000 pounds a month.
A literal ceiling.
It was like dark magic. She initially diagnosed this as a pure marketing problem.
Which is the standard entrepreneurial advice, right? If you hit a wall, push harder, run more ads, optimize the funnel.
But then comes the pivot in her story, the moment of truth. She realized that trying to fix the business metrics wasn't working, so she stopped looking at her striped dashboard and started looking inward.
Right.
She asked a much deeper body-based question. She asked, what does earning more actually do inside of me?
And that is the crucial somatic shift. She moved out of the prefrontal cortex, the strategy, the math, the logic, and dropped down into the body. She asked the nervous system what it was so terrified of.
And what surfaced, the vulnerability phase of the story, is the core of this entire deep dive.
It's powerful.
As she sat with that physical tension, a memory bubbled up. It wasn't a business memory. It was a deeply vulnerable early childhood memory. She remembered being a little girl, having something she truly loved, something that was precious and uniquely hers. And she remembered being forced, without any choice, to give it away to someone else.
This is the exact moment the ghost in the machine is born.
Wow.
In that specific moment of childhood, her young, developing nervous system experienced a profound trauma of loss and powerlessness. And because the brain is an incredibly efficient pattern recognition machine, it wrote a permanent line of code in her neural pathways to prevent that pain from ever happening again.
And what was the rule?
The rule was, having something valuable means it will be taken from you. Being resourced equals imminent loss.
Let that sink in for you, listening right now. Having something valuable means it will be taken. If that is the foundational operating system you are running on, how could you ever allow yourself to build $1 million empire?
You couldn't, because the anticipated pain of having $1 million taken away is perceived by the nervous system as a lethal emotional threat. So the system synthesizes a brilliant protective solution.
The 2,000-pound ceiling.
Yes. Her system wasn't broken at all. It was executing its programming flawlessly. 2,000 pounds was the exact mathematical threshold her nervous system calculated that she could hide.
It was the safe zone.
Exactly. Yeah, it was enough to survive, pay the basic bills, and keep food on the table. But it was just low enough to avoid attracting the theft or the dangerous visibility she so deeply feared. It allowed survival without triggering the trauma response of inevitable loss.
She was staying small to stay sovereign. It's breathtaking when you look at self-sabotage through that biological lens.
It really reframes everything.
It completely removes the shame. It's not sabotage at all. It's an act of deep biological self-love and protection. Your body is trying to keep you safe from heartbreak.
It is, but it also introduces a massive challenge for the dormant buyer. Because this woman had to do a lot of deep somatic work to find that specific memory.
Right, that wasn't easy to uncover.
No, she had to dig through years of mental, static, and conscious rationalization to find the core wound. That takes time. And the ego is an incredibly effective bouncer.
I love that analogy, the ego as a bouncer.
It stands outside the VIP room of your subconscious and says, "Nothing to see here, folks. We just need a better email sequence."
Right, the ego defends the limitation. So, understanding this intellectually is one thing, but if my biology is literally hardwired to sabotage my next launch to protect me from visibility, how on earth do I bypass my own brain?
That's the million-dollar question.
I can't just think my way out of an evolutionary failsafe. If the ego is the bouncer, how do we sneak past it?
Well, this raises a fascinating technological proposition. What if there was a shortcut? A radical way to bypass the conscious defenses and find these hidden rules instantly.
This is where we introduce one of the most mind-bending experiments we've come across. It involves using artificial intelligence.
But not how you'd think.
Right, not as a writing assistant, not to generate a month of generic LinkedIn posts, but using AI as a neural mirror or a quantum audit to completely bypass the ego.
To understand why this works and why it isn't just a tech gimmick, we have to look again at neuroscience, specifically the concept of language as a biological output.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Dr. Andrew Huberman and others in the neurobiology space often discuss how our internal states strictly dictate our external behaviors. In neuroscience, language is understood as the direct, unfiltered output of our neural pathways. It is the exhaust fume of the nervous system.
Wait, I want to make sure I grasp this fully. You're saying the words I choose, the way I structure my sentences, the little qualifiers I sprinkle into my emails, all of that is a direct, measurable reflection of my internal feeling of safety or danger.
Completely. Language is not just a tool for communication. It is a diagnostic indicator of nervous system capacity. If your nervous system is in a state of protection, say a mild dorsal vagal freeze where you are subtly pulling away and hiding, your language will inevitably reflect that.
Wait, dorsal vagal freeze. I know fight or flight, the sympathetic activation, but what is a freeze state biologically?
Excellent question. The autonomic nervous system has different branches. The sympathetic branch is your fight or flight. That's mobilization.
Right.
In business, that looks like frantically writing a launch email at 3 a.m. because you're panicked about cash flow.
Been there.
We all have. But the parasympathetic nervous system has two pathways. One is the ventral vagal pathway, which is your state of safety, social engagement, and flow. You feel connected and creative.
That's where we want to be.
Right. But the other pathway is the dorsal vagal pathway. This is the oldest evolutionary defense mechanism. It is immobilization. It's playing dead.
Playing dead.
Yeah, think of a possum playing dead when a dog approaches. The possum isn't consciously deciding to do that. Its nervous system shuts down to survive.
Wow.
In a business owner, a dorsal vagal freeze looks like dissociation. It's staring blankly at a screen, unable to type a single word. It's scrolling TikTok for 3 hours when you promised yourself you'd record a podcast.
Wow. So when I'm procrastinating, I'm actually playing dead.
Biologically, yes. And when you are in these protective states, your language changes. It becomes hesitant, overly accommodating, layered with caveats, or conversely, overly aggressive and rigid as a defense mechanism.
That makes so much sense.
But the core problem is we are completely blind to our own linguistic patterns. We become habituated to our own energy leaks. You literally cannot hear your own limiting beliefs because to you, they just sound like objective truth.
It's exactly like how you can't smell your own house.
Yes.
You live there every single day, so your brain filters out the scent to conserve processing power. You only notice it when you leave for a 2-week vacation, walk back through the front door, and suddenly think, wow, it smells like wet dog in here.
That is exactly it. You are swimming in the water of your own subconscious fears, so you don't even know it's wet. And your friends or business partners might be too polite to point out the wet dog smell in your language.
Assuming they even notice it themselves.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You can't hear your own leaks, and humans are biased. But AI has absolutely no ego. It doesn't want to protect your feelings. It isn't worried about making things awkward at the mastermind retreat. When you train a sophisticated AI model on your unique voice, your actual lived experiences, your Zoom transcripts, your unedited brain dumps, it stops acting like a generic chatbot giving you generic advice.
It becomes a mirror.
It becomes a pristine, ruthless mirror because it uses advanced pattern recognition to analyze the semantic choices that you are completely unaware of making.
It detects the subtle hesitations, the passive voice, and the protective phrasing that your ego actively tries to gloss over. It bypasses the bouncer because it's analyzing the exhaust fumes, not the conscious intent.
Let's bring in a second case study to see exactly how this neural mirror plays out in the 3D world. Again, looking through the Lisa Bloom framework, let's analyze a story from an entrepreneur who attended an intensive closed-door event focused entirely on this intersection of AI and consciousness.
The story of who here is a room full of highly capable dormant buyers. The instruction given at the event was quite radical.
Very radical.
The goal was not to learn prompt engineering to write better SEO blog posts. The instruction was to feed the AI deeply personal narratives, raw thoughts, and lived experiences, specifically to provoke the AI to uncover hidden neurological blocks.
Right. And there was a very distinct pivot during this event. The atmosphere in the room completely shifted.
I can imagine.
People weren't just sitting around analyzing data points or adjusting their avatars. They were having profound, visceral, emotional reactions. Participants were crying. They were having these massive, paradigm-shattering aha moments. The AI was hitting raw nerves.
And why was it hitting those nerves? Because of the depth of the data it was fed.
Well,
If you feed an AI generic, surface-level information like write a post about leadership,
yeah,
you will get generic, surface-level trash in return.
garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. But when you feed it your authentic lived experience, your unfiltered journal entries about your fear of failure, it processes that massive data set and hands you back a mathematically precise reflection of your own hidden fears.
The insight phase of this case study is staggering. The entrepreneur we were looking at fed the AI their content, and the AI essentially pointed out a massive gaping contradiction in their identity.
Ouch.
Yeah. The entrepreneur realized they were using what the AI explicitly identified as protective language. They were claiming, loudly and consciously on social media, I want to scale my business. I want to reach millions. I am ready for the big stage.
But the underlying syntax told a different story.
Exactly. They were simultaneously structuring their sentences in a way designed to keep them small, agreeable, and entirely hidden.
It's the paradox of wanting exponential growth but speaking in camouflage.
Speaking in camouflage, yes.
The lesson here is profound. The quality of your life and the trajectory of your business depends entirely on the quality of the questions you ask. When you use a tool like this not to produce outward-facing work, but to interrogate your own internal operating system, it reveals the biological fears hiding in plain sight in your syntax.
So what exactly did this quantum audit reveal for the people in that room? We actually have the data on the top 3 invisible blocks that the neural mirror consistently found across these high-level entrepreneurs.
Let's hear them.
And I guarantee, if you are listening to this right now, you are running at least one of these hidden programs today.
These 3 blocks perfectly illustrate the tension between conscious strategy and unconscious survival. Let's look at how they manifest and why the body chooses them.
Block number 1, the generic frequency. From a visionary perspective, this is the silent killer of empires. This is when you suppress your unique, brilliant wisdom because you are following proven scripts.
Oh, the proven scripts.
Right. You buy the $2,000 course, you download the fill-in-the-blank templates, and you just plug your name in. You ignore your intuition because the guru told you this is the exact psychological formula for a 7-figure launch.
And what happens?
Your business ends up sounding like absolutely everyone else in your industry. You lose your resonance, and consequently, the marketplace treats you like everyone else. You become a commodity.
Now, why does a highly intelligent person do this? If we look at why the nervous system absolutely loves the generic frequency, it's because blending in is the ultimate biological safety strategy. Think of a herd of zebras.
I love this analogy. Go on.
To a predator, a herd of zebras is just a confusing, vibrating mass of black and white stripes.
Right. You can't pick one out.
Exactly. The stripes serve as optical camouflage, making it incredibly difficult for a lion to single out one specific zebra. If you look and sound like everyone else in your industry, the modern-day predator, the internet troll, the demanding client, the fear of public failure can't single you out.
Wow.
Your nervous system pushes you to use the generic script not because it's effective for revenue growth, but because it ensures you remain safely hidden in the herd.
Wow. Blending in is safety. But standing out, having a unique quantum frequency, requires you to step away from the herd, which triggers the amygdala.
That's terrifying to the brain.
Which flows perfectly into block number 2, the safety filter. Because if you are hiding in the herd, you are inherently people-pleasing. The safety filter is when your language, your content, your entire brand presence is meticulously sanitized to ensure you never, ever upset anyone.
From a somatic perspective, the safety filter is the ultimate freeze response disguised as diplomacy.
Disguised as diplomacy, that's good.
Here is the hard truth about business. Wealth and massive success require a high degree of polarity. You have to take a stand. You have to be willing to be fiercely loved by your ideal clients and deeply misunderstood or even disliked by the people who aren't for you.
Yes.
But to an unhealed nervous system, being disliked is flagged as a mortal threat. In ancient times, social rejection equated to physical death. If the tribe kicked you out, you starved.
So what do? We water down our message. We add 10 qualifiers to every single statement. In my humble opinion, or maybe we could consider, or I might be totally wrong about this.
Right, the caveats.
You dull your own blade so no one gets accidentally cut, but then you sit there frustrated, wondering why you can't cut through the noise of the market.
Exactly. The nervous system flags the polarity required for uncompressed wealth as danger. So it filters your brilliance down. It's safe, it's agreeable, but it is entirely unnourishing for a growing business. It's defensive driving applied to entrepreneurship.
And that defensive posture inevitably leads to the third block the AI uncovered, the wisdom gap. This is the chronic tendency to constantly look for answers out there.
Outsourcing authority.
Right. We use AI to just write the post for us instead of auditing our thoughts. We look to the mentor, the latest best-selling book, the algorithm. We constantly outsource our authority rather than taking the time to extract the brilliance that is already localized in here.
The wisdom gap is essentially a profound crisis of self-trust. And again, the nervous system has a brilliant reason for creating this gap.
Always protecting us.
Always. If you believe the answers are out there, you never have to take full, crushing responsibility for the outcome. If you use a guru's proven script and the launch fails, your ego is protected. You can just say, well, the guru's strategy was bad.
It's a buffer against shame.
Precisely. But if you rely entirely on your own internal wisdom, your own unique frequency, and it fails, the ego perceives that as a devastating terminal blow to your core identity. I put my true self out there, and the market rejected me.
That's a heavy hit.
So the nervous system protects you from potential identity-crushing failure by constantly convincing you that you don't actually know what you're doing.
Okay, wait. I'm struggling with this, and I want to push back on this idea.
Go for it.
Because I'm hearing you say that proven scripts and modeling success block us. But isn't modeling success just smart business strategy? I mean, why on earth would I reinvent the wheel if someone else has already built a 7-figure funnel that converts? If I want to learn to play tennis, I hire a coach and copy their swing. I don't try to invent a new way to hit a ball. Why is this different? That feels like bad advice to tell people to ignore what works.
It's a vital pushback, and the distinction here is crucial. The argument isn't that strategies are inherently bad.
Okay.
Using a proven script or a 7-figure funnel is only a smart strategy if your nervous system has the capacity to handle the visibility and the volume that the strategy is meant to generate.
Break that down for me.
Let's say you buy the ultimate aggressive sales script that is mathematically proven to double your conversion rate. You plug it in. But if your nervous system still holds the subconscious code that having money means it will be taken away or that standing out is dangerous, it literally does not matter how good the script is.
Really?
Yes. You will subconsciously sabotage the execution to maintain biological safety.
How does that sabotage manifest in real time? Like, what does that look like?
Oh, it's subtle. You will suddenly get a migraine the morning of the launch webinar and have to cancel.
Oh, wow.
You will accidentally send the crucial cart close email to the wrong segment of your list. You will physically stumble over your words and drop your vocal tone when asking for the sale on a discovery call, signaling to the prospect that you don't believe in your own price.
That's terrifying.
The strategy is irrelevant if the biology refuses to support the outcome.
You cannot out-strategize a biological block, period.
Yeah,
That is the core, unshakable truth of this entire conversation.
it really is.
And that brings us to the most crucial shift we need to discuss today. If strategy isn't the answer, if buying another course won't fix the dormant buyer syndrome, what is the actual solution? This is where we introduce the identity shift framework.
Yes.
This framework asserts that business growth, the actual revenue numbers in your Stripe account, is merely a lagging indicator of an identity shift.
That phrase, lagging indicator, is vital for entrepreneurs to understand.
Why is that?
Well, in economics, a lagging indicator is a metric that changes after the economy has already begun to follow a particular pattern. In this context, it means the physical 3D manifestation of wealth happens after the internal neurobiological reality has changed.
Right. You don't make $1 million and then suddenly become a person who feels calm and safe with $1 million. It's the exact opposite.
Completely backward from how most people think.
You have to become the person who feels biologically safe holding $1 million, and then the business can hold that frequency and attract the capital. You have to transition your core operating system from the scarcity self to the millionaire identity.
And we have to make a very crucial distinction about how this transition actually happens, because the personal development world often gets this terribly wrong. Real wealth expansion isn't about breaking the ceiling with a sledgehammer.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that sledgehammer metaphor is what hustle culture preaches constantly, right?
Yeah.
Smash through your upper limits, grind until you break the glass ceiling.
Exactly. The old you, the scarcity self, tries to force the result. It uses sheer willpower, adrenaline, 80-hour work weeks, and brute force to smash the ceiling.
Exhausting.
But think about the physics of that. If you smash a ceiling with a sledgehammer without reinforcing the foundation and the load-bearing walls first, the entire house collapses on you.
Which is why we see people hit a big income month and immediately burn out, get sick, or make a terrible, impulsive investment that wipes out all the gains.
Yep.
The house collapse.
Yes. Instead of violently breaking the ceiling, true, sustainable expansion is about slowly, methodically widening the floor.
Widening the floor. I love that visual. It feels grounded. It leads us to the concept of becoming the uncompressed entrepreneur or experiencing uncompressed wealth.
That's the goal.
The uncompressed entrepreneur does not chase money. They don't sprint frantically after the next client in a state of sympathetic activation. Instead, they focus their energy entirely on building nervous system capacity.
Let's clearly define capacity in this biological context.
Please do.
Nervous system capacity is the physical and emotional ability to hold a specific higher frequency, whether that's a larger amount of money, a significantly wider audience, deeper intimacy in a relationship, or even just holding a massive creative vision without shifting into a sympathetic fight-or-flight panic, or dropping into a dorsal vagal freeze state.
So staying balanced.
It is the ability to stay grounded, present, and neurobiologically safe while holding more.
To build this capacity and widen the floor, the new millionaire identity has to confront and answer 3 core questions. And I want everyone listening to treat these questions as diagnostic tools. Feel where the resistance is in your body as I ask them. Question 1, can I feel safe earning $3,000 or $10,000 or $50,000 and keeping it?
Notice the emphasis on "and keeping it,"
Right.
because many dormant buyers have the capacity to temporarily spike their income. They can hustle their way to a $20,000 a month, but their nervous system instantly panics at the accumulation of those resources.
Because accumulation feels dangerous.
It feels like a target on their back. So they immediately manifest an unexpected expense, a massive tax bill, car engine blowing up, or they make a rushed bad investment just to drain the account back down to their baseline comfort zone where they feel safe.
They intentionally spring a leak in their own boat so they don't have to navigate the deep water. It's fascinating. Question 2. Can I be highly visible and still be in control?
Visibility often feels, biologically, like a complete loss of control.
Especially on the internet.
Oh, definitely. The more people who see you, the more potential there is for criticism, harsh judgment, being canceled, or being misinterpreted. The primitive nervous system has to be retrained to learn that being seen does not equal being consumed by the predator.
And question 3. Can I receive without feeling an invisible string of obligation attached?
This question ties deeply into our earliest attachments and childhood trauma.
How so?
If receiving resources, love, or gifts in the past meant you inherently owed someone your autonomy, your time, or your behavioral compliance, your nervous system will violently reject wealth today because it equates receiving money with a loss of freedom. You have to neurologically decouple the act of receiving from the feeling of obligation.
Okay, understanding this intellectually is honestly mind-blowing. It really shifts the heavy burden of shame off of your work ethic and puts the focus squarely on your biology.
It really does.
But, as we established earlier, understanding it intellectually in the prefrontal cortex isn't enough. You can't just think your way out of a nervous system block. It must be moved from the screen, or in this case the audio you were listening to right now, into the physical body. So how do we actually fix the terrified 1995 operating system?
We have to move into pragmatic 3D application. We have two very specific, actionable practices to start rewriting the hardware. The first utilizes the AI neural mirror we discussed earlier.
I'm calling this the AI prompt challenge. I am not giving this as homework because we are all adults here, but I am daring you to try this.
Highly recommend it.
I actually tried this exact prompt myself yesterday, and I have to admit, it was absolutely brutal. It humbled me instantly. I challenge anyone listening to go to your AI tool of choice. ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you prefer. Paste in a raw transcript of a recent podcast you recorded, an email you sent to your list, or a long, unedited brain dump in your journal, and use this exact prompt. Analyze this text for subconscious fears regarding wealth, visibility, and power. Where am I playing small? Be ruthlessly objective.
And here's the single most important instruction for this challenge. When the AI generates its response, do not argue with it.
Yes, because your ego is going to flare up like a defensive wall. You read the AI's analysis, and your immediate thought will be, no, that's completely out of context. I'm not afraid of power. I'm just being humble and collaborative.
The urge to defend your identity will be immense.
Oh.
But you have to consciously choose to sit with the discomfort.
Why is that discomfort so important?
Because from a neuroplasticity standpoint, that physical discomfort you feel reading the analysis is the literal sensation of an old, rigid neural pathway being challenged. It is the necessary friction of awareness. That discomfort is the doorway to the millionaire identity. You have to look at the exhaust fumes of your own language.
Once you've audited the language and faced the mirror, you have to do the somatic work to widen the floor. I would love for you to guide us through a physical exercise to anchor this, because this brings it entirely back to the nervous system.
I would love to.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this right now, assuming you aren't driving or operating heavy machinery, of course, take a moment to actually do this with us.
Okay.
Close your eyes. I want you to visualize your primary business bank account balance. See the exact number clearly in your mind's eye. Now, imagine that number spontaneously doubling overnight.
Just boom, twice as much money sitting there in cleared funds.
Exactly. Don't think about the strategy. Don't worry about how it happened. Just visualize the new doubled number. Now, immediately drop your awareness into your body and scan for tension.
Checking in with the body.
Notice the exact spot that tightens. Did your throat suddenly constrict? Did your stomach drop, flutter, or clench? Is there a heavy, suffocating weight sitting right on your chest?
It's wild. Even just visualizing it now, I can literally feel my chest tightening, just anticipating the administrative headache, the tax bracket jump, the pressure of having to manage that much capital.
And that tension right there,
Yeah.
that is your biological bodyguard stepping in.
Wow.
That physical sensation is your precise safety limit.
Mm-hmm.
It is the exact neurological threshold where your nervous system says, stop. Anything past this point is deep water, and we will get the bends.
So what do we do when we locate that tension? Because the typical type A entrepreneur instinct is to take a massive deep breath and just try to forcefully, aggressively relax it, to stretch past it.
And that is exactly what you should not do.
Really?
Yes. If you try to force a terrified nervous system to relax, you only increase the panic. The system interprets the force as an attack. You don't take a sledgehammer to the tension. Instead, you have to honor the safety limit.
How do you do that?
You literally breathe into the tension without trying to change it. You acknowledge the biological bodyguard. You tell that specific part of your body, the tight throat, the clenching stomach, you speak to it gently, like you would a frightened child. We are allowed to be resourced. We are allowed to be seen. It is safe to hold more.
It is safe to hold more. That is so incredibly powerful. You are basically reparenting your own nervous system.
Exactly.
You are updating the 1995 software with compassion rather than brute force.
Precisely. Through repetition of this somatic safety, you are proving to the ancient brain that the environment has fundamentally changed. You are demonstrating that the perceived predators are not real, and that expansion is now a safe, sustainable state of being.
But finding the block and feeling the tension is really only the beginning. Shifting the capacity to hold an entirely new level of wealth requires ongoing, dedicated commitment.
It's a practice.
Right. You can't just do a 5-minute visualization once and expect a 7-figure empire to materialize. This is deep somatic rewiring. It requires a safe container, ongoing guidance, and repetition to rewrite a biological rule that was likely set decades ago when you were a child.
It is a profound transition. It is the journey from constantly fighting your biology to deeply aligning with it.
So what does this all mean? Let's zoom all the way out and look at the landscape we've covered.
We've covered a lot.
We started this deep dive talking to the exhausted dormant buyer, the entrepreneur doing absolutely everything right on paper but seeing zero momentum in reality.
The invisible wall.
We've traveled through the illusion of Tantra's strategy, diving deep into the evolutionary survival mechanisms of polyvagal theory and the amygdala's threat detection. We've looked at how a single childhood memory of loss can set a permanent 2,000-pound income ceiling.
The ghost in the machine.
Right. We've explored the radical, slightly terrifying idea of using AI as a neural mirror to expose the protective language we use as camouflage. And we've realized that the path forward isn't breaking glass ceilings with a sledgehammer, but slowly, safely, and somatically widening the floor. Expanding our nervous system capacity to finally become the uncompressed entrepreneur.
We have moved from the illusion of a broken business to the reality of a highly protective biology.
We have, and I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought today, something to really mull over as you close your laptop, look at your business, and interact with the world today. Think about your biggest business failure. The launch that completely flopped, the dream client that suddenly walked away, the income ceiling you've been bashing your head against for 3 years straight.
Right.
What if that wasn't a lack of effort? What if it wasn't a lack of intelligence or a sign that the universe doesn't want you to succeed? What if it was simply your nervous system successfully, brilliantly protecting you from a perceived threat to your survival?
And if that is true, what happens to your reality when you finally turn to that biological bodyguard? Thank it for its years of relentless service, gently relieve it of its duties, and step into the quantum field completely uncompressed.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the invisible architecture of success. We will see you next time.
So when Gina offered me the opportunity to do this, I jumped for it because I think anything that you can do that is going to chip away at these limiting the beliefs of things that hold you back is really, really worth doing. So it's been a really lovely experience, and if anybody's a bit worried about it, just do it, because the opportunity to connect through havening is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
But really helpful, I think, in terms of having that kind of guided process just to kind of let the ideas and the feelings and the images flow, and then try and work out what it actually means afterwards, and to come up with, and it made intuitive sense. It's really, really helpful to then kind of have that debrief of, okay, what can we actually do with this stuff? Because that's where we tend to get stuck, is kind of like coming out of it going, oh, this is all some really interesting ideas and thoughts and feelings and images. But yeah, then, you know, how can we actually harness them to do something different? And I think that's been really, really helpful in terms of clarifying really what I need to prioritize to go forward in a way that will deal with some of that stuff that came up.
I would like to point out that I'm actually a therapist myself, and sometimes therapists also need a therapist. So I was really stuck, and then one day a friend posted a link for Gina's wealth and money attracting short course, and I went, this sounds great, I'm just gonna book it. And I loved it so much. I really had an epiphany on that course, and it was only meant to be a demonstration, and yet it was really it just opened up something, possibilities that I was stuck before, and now like, ooh, I can use this to unstuck myself. I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And you appeared at the right time. That's all there is to it. So, you know, if anybody is watching this video, it means Gina has appeared in your life. So please give it a try.
She walks where the sky